I've been researching freediving for a few years, and by researching, I mean watching a bunch of YouTube videos. So I tried freediving for the first time a few days ago, and it was, it just made a lot of sense to me. Um, so there's some things like some sports where you kind of like enjoy the beginning sections and you see the advanced things and you're like, why would anyone do that? And it just doesn't make sense. And I don't think it's meant to make sense because it makes sense to the people who are meant to do it. So I think of rock climbing, and um, in rock climbing, you have like the easy, big things you hold onto and you kind of climb up, and it's fun. It's fun to be a monkey sometimes. But with uh, the more advanced things, I mean, it's kind of like these little tiny holds where you're crimping, and it's just like breaking your nails. And why, why would anyone do that? And I see those things, and I'm like, I would never need to go that far. But with freediving, I see the most advanced techniques and the most insane dives, and I just know in my bones that that is something that I would love to do one day. When I finished my dive, my instructor was like, "Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the dives?" And I just said, "I knew I would." It's just one of those things. So yeah, it's really nice to feel that feeling of doing something that you knew you would want to do and that you would need to do to kind of feel like that the life that you kind of chose makes sense, and that you took the chance, you got to do the thing you want to do. When we were sitting on the beach, my instructor was sitting like in this kind of guru, you can't see it, like lotus position, like, you know, like yoga, like lotus, and he's just like, "Why do you want to free dive?" And the guy has to be younger than me, but he sounded at least 40 years older because of the slowness of his breath, the stillness of his mind, and the peace that he had within himself. And as the internet addict I am, I felt like disturbed almost by the slowness and the integrity of this person's presence. I think when we are around people who are so within themselves, not just within themselves, just so at peace, that it can be intense just to be around that. And I'm not around it in that extreme that often. I think that this person does not exist in the normal way, but in a really healthy way, that the forces of, if you can call it capitalism, or the addictions that we have, they just don't seem to apply to him. And I think that is what is cool to me about freediving, in the sense that it's about, it's really about your control of yourself, more than anything. So we sat and we talked about the physiology of freediving and the techniques around it, and we went swimming. We went out. We went out to the water, and we have this kind of ring, this buoy that you inflate, and you can hang on to it between each dive. It's like this red thing. And we went down, and I've always liked sitting at the bottom of swimming pools whenever I have the chance. Just sitting there, looking, thinking, and being still. And I've always wanted to try that in an open ocean. I've been sometimes, but I didn't have the equipment or the weight so that you spend a lot of energy like kind of kicking down, and then spending a lot of time just fighting to stay down there because naturally your lungs are full of air and you rise. But this is the first time I tried it with weights, and so you don't really have to do that much work to start falling. Um, and there's so much in that falling that is insane. I'm gonna try and talk about all of it as much as possible because the friends that or the people on the internet that get it, they will get it. So I'm gonna try. When you go down, so imagine I'm going down. You have this rope. A natural inclination is to look up because you're trying to see naturally, like when the rope ends, when will you hit that mark that you're going for. So we started at 5 meters and we went to 10, and I was like really kind of pulling the rope, kicking a bit and trying to see when I would stop. And that caused a lot of problems because firstly you open your kind of throat and it makes it very difficult to equalize. You have a lot of pressure in the ears, so you kind of have to, like you're on an airplane or something. And that the skill of equalization, I had never really practiced that before. So doing that actually makes it much more difficult to equalize. Like actually doing like this when everything's compressed, then that makes it easier. So the thing about that is that you don't really know where you are. You just have to kind of pull the rope, look straight, and equalize. And I came to the top and I asked my instructor, but how do you know how far you are from the bottom? And he said, you don't. You just have to be happy with where you are at the moment. And I was like, okay, this is a very philosophical sport. And it did work because all I did was look straight and fall up or down, whatever you want to call it. And I've been reading Alice in Wonderland lately, and it really does feel like you are falling into something. I've never felt that before. Like you just relax your body, kick a little bit, and you rise into an abyss. The first time I went down, I like kicked all the way down, hit the 10 meter, came back up straight away, and kind of like irritated my eardrums. But when I saw how one could do it, I just relaxed, kicked a little bit, and you just fall. And it's just amazing. It's absolution in some weird way. And you get to the bottom, or you're where you're meant to be. And I could just sit there and look around, feel the CO2 rising within me, look up, and not really see the top because visibility wasn't so good. And with one or two kicks, you're on the top, just like like the dolphin kicks, and you're the top. And you look at the beach, and everyone is just building sandcastles or playing or talking, and you're on this ring with your dive buddy, and you just experienced not near death, but like something quite transcendental. And it's just like a normal, within those 3 minutes or so, or 2 minutes in this case, I guess, I've gone through so many emotions, so many feelings, so much experience, and you look out and it's just a normal day for everyone else. Like that 2 minutes, like this is already almost 10 minutes of video. So much can pass, but in those 2 minutes you can actually have this incredible experience. Yeah, I'm sure there's like a lot of overlap between spirituality and freediving, because my instructor, I think in most in a lot of sports, you can see someone's body and you can see that they are um, trained for that particular sport. I think of weightlifters and their bulk. I think of rock climbers and their backs and their forearms and everything. Um, but my instructor is like a world record holder in 2 events and just the most normal looking person, like quite lean, obviously. Um, but just a normal guy. But I think it's the mind, which, and I guess internal stamina, technique, etc., that really marks him out as different. Yeah. He went for a dive as I was resting, and he said, "I'm just gonna relax in the bottom for like a minute. Don't worry, you can't see me." And I saw him go down, and he didn't even kick. He flew down, chilled there for like a minute, came up, and I said, "How did you get to the bottom without kicking?" Because he had just a neck weight, that's all. And he said, "Oh, I just went down without air." What? What? No air? He just fell. It really is like flying. But like inverse, and it's like your whole world is inverted. You have this open ocean, this yawning abyss, and you can just go. But you are limited with your skill and your body. I think that's amazing. Like, I don't think that equipment really matters that much in this sport, which I love. It's quite marginal. I think of diving, like with all the scuba diving gear and all that stuff, and what you can do is, yeah, it does change a lot with what gear you have. But with free diving, you get a wetsuit and some fins and a mask and some really simple weights, and you can do insane things. You can fly or fall, whichever you prefer. And there's one more thing. There's a point where you start free falling, depending on your weights and your buoyancy and all that. Because as you go down, you have a lot of air, and that wants to rise. But at some point, the pressure from the water compresses the air in your lungs, and there's enough pressure above. I can explain this probably with more theory later, when I do know it. But there comes a threshold where you don't have to kick, you don't have to do anything, and you just fall. And that must be the most insane feeling, where you just move through this line in the water where you just let go and you are pulled into the black. That is insane. That is insane. You just get pulled into nothing. What? That is insane. So I would love to try that one day. And there's also something very intimate about freediving. I mean, as a romantic, I see intimacy in everything. But with freediving, you're holding this buoy, you're holding this thing with your dive buddy. Before you go down, you're meant to reduce your heart rate. So you breathe out for, let's say, you breathe in for like 4 seconds, breathe out for 8, and that would slowly reduce your heart rate. And I'm just holding this thing, breathing very slowly with my dive buddy or my instructor. And how often do you actually do that with someone in a day-to-day situation? Just breathe together. Very rarely, I would assume. And you don't say much because you don't want to waste energy. Just give him a nod and say, okay. Then you go down. And you feel like you can go further because someone is watching you. And you should always dive with someone. And I'm going down, and I'm letting myself fall with the rope, and knowing that someone would save me if it went wrong. And the thing is, I have pretty good breath holding capabilities, so it was really the equalization which messed me up. But even that, knowing that safety was which was a huge difference, honestly. And you come up and then you give that person a nod, and yeah, it's just that was great. I'm very lucky to have experienced that, and I wish that everyone could experience that if they want to, in the freediving form or in whatever thing they want to do in life, like that feeling of peace, but also exertion, safety, and accomplishment, really, that this freediving experience gave me. Yeah, it was beautiful. I'm very happy. So that's my freediving experience, the first one, and I hope to do many more. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I hope that I will speak more soon, and that we will be in touch. Adios. Peace.